Welcome to the Sci-Fi Center, the place to be, where comic books and wrestling collide magically. Movies, TV shows, and pop culture we share. Get ready to rock, we're here to take you there. From superheroes to aliens in outer space, we've got the latest news and reviews in our embrace. Turn on your screen, let the neon lights glow. We'll take you back to the 80s. Let's rock and roll. Sci-Fi Center, where the legends come alive. Get ready to geek out, let your imagination fly. We're diving into the past with a touch of modern flair. Sci-Fi Center, the ultimate pop culture lair.
Happy Saturday! A lot earlier than I was planning on doing this, but my schedule opened up. I was originally going to plan on doing the show from the house, but I got done early, so I figured let's get started. Especially for those of you who are on the East Coast, don't want to keep you up too late into Sunday. Welcome to the Saturday Overnight Live Show, brought to you by the Sci-Fi Center Presents. Coming to you live from Las Vegas, Nevada, and the Sci-Fi Center itself. This week's episodes are brought to you by a film that once Brad gets here, we will be reviewing, which is Megan 2.0. Wacky Robot is back. She's not alone. Megan 2.0 is in theaters now. Brad will be along to give you. I did not see it, so Brad is going to do the review for that. If you're in the Las Vegas area and you would like a t-shirt, I still have a few t-shirts left, some extra larges and some mediums and a couple of smalls. If you want to stop by here, I'll be here. Obviously, I'll be here while this show is on, which is quite late, and then I will be here tomorrow as well. Also, if you're in the Las Vegas area or will be in the Las Vegas area on June, June is almost over. On July 11th, 3 p.m., as you guys know, I am doing a special screening for James Gunn's Superman. And I have begun giving limited seats away for those of you who have come down to the store. I have actually got some, I actually have gotten a picture or two. I don't have them on this particular file, but there we go. So I launched this today. So I've had people coming down today. If you come down, visit me, say hi. It's a good chance you're going to get on the list for July 10th. Galaxy Theaters presents with the Boulevard Mall and the Sci-Fi Center a special free screening, matinee screening of Superman 2025. Like I said, we've rented out the theater, and I will be updating this poster because we got a bunch of sponsors that have helped make this happen. So this poster will be updated. This will be similar to what you're going to see for those of you who are able to make it, in a giant IMAX looking screen. My big fat head for all your satisfaction. There it goes. So and like I said, I hate when it does that. Also, I had a customer improvise today. She does not have a dog, so she went ahead and damn it, hold on, it's me. Damn it, try another way. Yep. Tap to view. 1, 2, 3. Connect devices. Cool. Oops. Here we go. Not now. No. Not now. Okay, so here we go. Here's one of my customers. She didn't have. In fact, I'm going to download this so that you guys can see a much bigger picture of it. I don't want to. It's the way StreamYard does stupid pictures. It doesn't give you the full breadth. So I'm going to upload the overlay. Video clips. Do background. StreamYard, if you're watching, man, please make this easier. All right, add files. Download. All right, so one of my customers actually went out of her way. She did not have an actual dog, so she went to Walmart and she grabbed the grabbed one of the plushies off the shelf, put what looks like a red towel around his neck, and she improvised her crypto. Now, this is really bending the rules, but because I appreciate the ingenuity and the improvisation and the fact that this woman was not going to be denied her seats at my screening, I went ahead and bent the rules, and we're going to let her in. But I thought that was kind of hilarious. I got a chuckle out of that today, so there you go. So she's in, and I got a couple other people who have sent me their pictures. I have some people who will be actually bringing their dogs down here dressed as crypto, and I'll get you guys those pictures. The rest of you guys that are here today and tomorrow, if you just come down and say, hey, you know what? How about that screening on the 10th? I'm a softie. I'm going to let you in. I have reserved seats for sponsors and other groups like our cosplay groups and some underprivileged kids that may not get a chance to get to a movie. I've reserved some seats so that those types of families can go and not have to worry about it because we got plenty of seats. So, and I'm gonna push my troublemaker button on my keyboard, and I'm gonna see who it brings. I'm pushing the troublemaker button, the shit starter button. Let's see how. Oh wait, look at it! It's troublemaking Brad. That's hilarious.
What did I do? What did I do?
Your article. That's hilarious.
I wrote an article about people being pissed off over 12 years of being picked on. Basically,
you actually had some interaction, and I actually agree with the guy who interacted you. He actually had interaction. It wasn't like vulgar or stupid. He actually articulated himself, and I'm like, I saw where that guy was coming from. It's like, while I understand where you're coming from, I do agree that the weight of it is not as it's not like that, especially now.
Oh, so you're talking about that? Yeah, because it's still climbing in terms of like comments and.
Yeah, I got out before it got ugly. If it got ugly, I didn't see it.
It's really gotten ugly, I would say, but I know the one, and it was like a kind of string of comments. The one individual,
he responded to his own comment, and I'm like, that's weird for me when people respond.
Well, it's because you can't like fit like
you can only
necessarily
do,
what you want to say into it, and I mean it was definitely less flippant than you would probably think from the from kind of what his thesis was. So if you guys want to see the one William's referring to.
Yeah, if it's a day that ends at Y, Brad's starting some problems or trouble. But I did something, like I said, that I am limiting myself to do. I saw something, I forgot. Either somebody tagged me in it or I saw it, and then it was some kind of meme when it was Snyder fans when somebody shows them a Superman comic. And I'm like, wait a minute.
I saw that one. Yeah.
What? I'm like, I don't understand, guys.
Yeah, well, and that kind of relates to my article because we've been hearing that for 12 years.
I took some pictures of me standing in front of like a whole bunch of Superman comics. Like I said, I forgot where did I reply to it?
Well, and then you get told the comic store doesn't understand comics, so
I don't know everything about comics.
I mean, yeah, you haven't read every single issue in existence, but that's inhumanly possible.
I'm still learning. But by the way, guys in the chat, let me know how I'm coming through, because I got a new mic that works awesome. Actually, it's not new. I got it at Comic-Con last year and I used it. I don't have the interface apparently to use it on this computer, but this mic is really kick ass. It's a tiny mic, but man, it's kick ass. And I was trying to use it today because I wanted to hear how it sounds, but the interface doesn't work. This computer is not updated enough, I guess, for the type of jacks it needs. It's still using aux jacks, and that cancels out the sound. But I really want to use that mic, so guys, let me know. But yeah, I can't find where I responded because I'm not a Twitter guy. But you probably saw it. Like I said, it was just a weird thing. It's like, dude, people.
Yeah, so it's called Zack Snyder Advanced Thing Upset for Nothing, breaking down the Snyder Gun discourse, and this is actually kind of the impetus for writing this sort of planted in my head when we had that Reddit incident recently. You know the one I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And and then kind of contrasted with that, like at the same time as someone, another, there like that was, although apparently that even that's like murky, like whether that was a fan or just a troll who did that. And then, but within the same like weekend, there was an incident where a one Snyder fan like made, I guess, kind of a poor taste joke, and the dude ended up getting swatted by basically like the other side of the kind of this divide. So that sort of sequence of it really sort of planted the impetus in my head to write this article. I'm not gonna like take you guys all through it, but I mean the cliff notes of it is okay. So basically, that kind of back and forth, or that kind of that kind of dialogue around this set of superhero movies, add 12 years to that, you might understand why like the fandom kind of is in the mindset that it is, and why some may have even gone off the deep end somewhat. So that's kind of the general, again, the very kind of basic cliff notes of that. But I went ahead and put in the chat for anybody who hasn't read, if you want to check it out.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I see it from a couple of different angles at it. To me, it's like you have a choice of who you respond to. You have a choice of who you let get your attention. I mean, it does. Somebody could say, like I said, I responded, but it was more out of fun. And I made sure I got my URL in there too, so anybody who
you did the whole you did the did you respond to the comments here? Are you talking about, or because you did the
it was a comment. It was a comment. I don't even know how to pull it up, because I just responded to somebody else's comment, and I don't know if it shows up on my feed, because like I said, I have done my best not to get acclimated to Twitter, because I think it's.
No, I mean, Elon's definitely done it
garbage. But I just saw something while I was reading your article, and since I was reading your article, while I was reading your article, it assumed that I wanted to see this other thing, and it was just like I said, it was a little. He might have deleted it. It was a little meme saying, and it had some lady saying in Snyder fans when you show them
see a comic, they're like repulsed or something.
Yeah, and it's some lady. And I responded with pictures of me standing in front of our Superman section here.
Yeah, so I said, the counter argument is going to be you own a comic store, but you don't understand comics, I'm sure.
Yeah, I just and I could see why people get angry, because these people don't seem to understand that just because you had an issue with a particular fan or a particular group of fans, that gives you license to to blanket everybody else and tell people what they know, they don't know. That's why I think it's hilarious.
Well, not only that, but also, and this is what I go into in this feature, is that, I mean, that segment of the fandom that is that has like, well, you just like Snyder's you dark nihilistic, take whatever label they want to put on. It's like you're not a true Superman fan. I mean, that Warner Brothers, when they did what they did with Justice League, when they did what they did in revamping the franchise, they were listening to somebody, they were trying to cater to somebody, they were trying to appease some segment of folks, and it damn sure wasn't Zack Snyder fans.
Yeah, and like I said, there's different. There's just whenever somebody says true Superman fan, I laugh at them because like it's usually the most unqualified person to ever even utter those words. You know?
True fan of anything, really. I mean, it's not unique.
That's
any
gatekeeping.
Like one area. Yeah, exactly. So, yeah. So, and I haven't. Aaron apparently got in on the fun, so I haven't seen this. But I'm gonna get a look.
We're gonna have to ban that again.
But anyway, yeah. So this is what the article that I had go live on Combo today. So, sharing right here. I put in the chat. You guys want to give it a read? So, just had put my 2 cents out there. And again, like I said, it was the that Reddit, the whole back and forth from about a week or two ago. That really was what kind of lit the fire under my ass to write this one.
Yeah, like I said, I those people will take up as much space in your life as you allow them to. And that's pretty much all right. Oh, here it is.
You found the comment your comment that you were talking about?
Yeah. Here it is. Like I said, this is where I'll end it because I don't go back and forth with these assholes. Mm-hmm. I don't think this person's an asshole. I just figured I'd be. All right, so yeah, it's this okay. Zack Snyder fans when you show them a Superman comic, and I'm like, okay, well, let me show you a few. Here you go. There's some Superman comics. There's me. I'm a Snyder fan. There's some more Superman comics. That's me. I'm a Snyder fan. Mm. There's even more. I'm even pointing to one. Mm. So yeah, I thought that to be a little bit hilarious, but I'm not taking it so seriously to be like
Oh, and Aaron, I just checked out this one you're talking about. Yeah, this definitely would be very polarizing. What she suggests. Long story.
That the AI thing.
Yeah. Well, it's the. I don't know because we have seen like a lot of like kind of fan. I mean, this is an AI, but like Project Justice League, the motion comic was, we've seen a lot of things of that nature, like fans doing like what's that one gentleman, Diego Vegas or something on who's on Instagram. He's doing like these little segments of like the Nightmare, through 3D animation.
I think they didn't. I think Junkie bought him up. Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, so we've seen things in that vein in terms of like fan films or fan art. So yeah, that's like, yeah, I don't know. It's like, do you think it would be like that controversial? Because because AI definitely is. It's a very
to people who have an issue with AI. I don't think as many people, to be honest with you, I don't think the general public. I think the general public has a fear of AI, like the science fiction horror type, Terminator 2. But as far as everyday applications and things like that, I don't think the general public. I have not seen. I could be wrong because I haven't gauged obviously everybody, but I'm not hearing that the general public, who would be the consumers of these things, have as much of an issue with AI as a certain segment of the population. Now that could change as they get a better understanding of it, but as of now, as of June 28th, I don't see it being controversial. But once again, there's only one way to find out.
Well, and again, I mean, so right now we're throwing like all kinds. It might be AI, it might be animation, it might be comic books, it might be fan. Us not having like a multi-billion-dollar studio behind us, the fans can like throw like so many different suggestions for like how we could like take something like this upon ourselves. But that we've also talked about on here. It's like, I mean, there's you've said you think James Gunn's the best shot at anything sanctioned by Warner Brothers and DC Studios in that vein happening.
Yeah, because he's open-minded, and that's where all the angst that goes. That's why I say when the people try to antagonize Snyder fans, it's just treat them like the homeless person, the drunk that wants to follow you home. Just push them away and just keep going.
By the way, also I one thing I do want to. I hope this, for anybody who's seen the article that hasn't read it, I do, try to maintain, some professionalism with what I do. I mean, this is, what I do. And, you'll notice in this, it's like, I don't like, a lot of people might like use something like this as a vehicle to like either cheerlead for your preferred creator in this or to kind of condemn the other. It's like I never bash on James Gunn in any of these that I've written, in the Snyderverse topic. It's like I never like and you can read through all of them. It's like, I mean, there might be areas where I've like launched some measure of criticism, but I'm never like using these as a tool to like as a cudgel on him or anything he's doing. I mean, I think that comes across. I hope that comes across to people reading it, but I just want to also vocally make that clear. That's like, I'm not. This is not my. It's not my tool to like
I want to
wage war against him or anything.
So anyway, like I want to do a pharaoh. I want to do an astronaut. I have a thing that I want to put over here. I want to have a face tail.
I was in trouble again.
Just.
I mean, I just shared a feature I wrote. It's people are, and especially with this topic, people are either going to love it or they're going to hate it.
Yeah, but I got to keep them. I got to keep them price effective, though. I don't want them to sit.
Yeah. Again, Erin, she had a thread on Twitter about this. She shared with me a minute ago. And so again, so yeah, I'm kind of with you, William, on there, where it's like it's a hot button issue because it's like because the average person's not like is not using AI like on anything. If they're using it at all, they're not using it on anything more than like.
Do I have your information in my phone already? Send me the way you want to be paid. I'll take care of it. All right.
Yes. It's like the average person is not using AI on anything more than like Chat GDP, so it's kind of
consumer. If the consumer, as long as the consumer gets the content, it's the people I've heard that have an issue with it are creators, artists and creators. I know that they're the ones that have the biggest issue so far that I've heard. But you guys in the chat can obviously have feedback, making my Nosferatu dolls. I have violin covers. I got to paint them all bloodless and all that, but I got little violins for the violin plates. Gives me the cases before they throw them away, and so I'm going to put these dolls in coffins, and they're going to have like vampire teeth and everything. So it's going to be cool. And the guy who makes the coke for me just came by.
I think also what maybe also might be a little bit what might kind of make it a little bit of like a divisive topic is I think when people are advocating for this, they're ultimately advocating for like an artist's like the completion of an artist's vision, and so if it's not something that's like overseen by Snyder or overseen by like the people who were involved in the first like slate of everything, then I think that's where it can be a little bit like people might have be kind of taken aback by that idea, but just putting that out there is like playing devil's advocate on it.
As much as I respect your point of view in the article, obviously, it's one of those things that has made the conversation feel like a 1,000-pound lead weight to drag around, because it's both sides of this are entering things in that don't have anything to do with this movie. Well, I probably more understand what you're saying than anything, but you already know how I feel about the other people that are like, they're rooting for this movie to do well, not because they're looking to enjoy the movie, is because they're looking at it to try to fuck with us. Tell those people, I say, get a life. If you're going to plop down money for a movie just to stick it to me, why don't you just donate that to the American Cancer Society? Donate that money to the American Foundation for Suicide. Do something worthwhile. If you're just going to a movie because you thinking you make it successful is gonna make me lose sleep at night, then I don't have much faith in you. And you, like I said before, I hope better things in your life happen to you so that you can gravitate towards those. Because right now, that's a losing path. And at the other end of it, once again, nothing in the current discussion has anything. No one's seen this movie yet. Most of us have not seen this movie. I mean, we've had pundits that see it, industry people that see it. Nobody's seen this movie yet. So it's hard for me to believe that these conversations are relevant to anything. The anger at what WB did in the past would be relevant if those people were still here. If Sarnoff were giving interviews, I'd say, okay, well, fuck that. If Emmerich were out there, cutting ribbons and standing in front on the red carpet, okay, I'd have a problem. If Amada was still, at the joystick, I'd be like, all right, well, I'm going to tune out for a little bit. But those eyes are gone. And then the other end of it is, like I said, like I saw one review, a guy came out and he's like,
of Superman.
I think it was on Threads. One of the industry, it wasn't a review, but it was more of his reaction because he can't give anything until
back like the
review. Yeah, until 7th. Yeah, the 7th is when I see it, when we can actually do one. But yeah, you start hearing that this is a true Superman, all this stuff, and I'm like, and I asked him, I'm like, do you have like a badge or a certificate that appoints you this? Otherwise, you're just another person. You're why I don't like critics, because I have no use for critics, because what you feel about a movie is your feelings. So, like I said, right now, I just want to get to this movie, have some fun with it, promote it, obviously, as we're doing, and then get past it. After July 11th, 12th, whatever, I am going to try hard. I am going to try extra hard to talk about Fantastic Four, and everything else going forward, because the conversation of Superman, this is why we banned it for so long, because I knew this was going to happen. We got we got everybody talking about things that don't have anything to do with this movie's success or anything. I don't, like I said before, I don't do ghost hunting. And then the anti-Snyder people, I actually feel sorry for them. I actually feel sorry that that takes up more than 10 seconds of their day and their lifetime. But both ends of it, I'm like, it's like I said, trying to push a school bus uphill while you're trying to have fun with something. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that. So William, Hollywood Reporter, said they believe that there isn't a writer for the Brave and the Bold. What do you think that means?
And this is, of course, like after the whole Matt Reeves and Matt,
that there's no writer.
Well, I mean, that was kind of packaged in with the official report, coverage that they revealed. Okay, we got the script for the Batman Part 2, and then there was like that was kind of slipped in with it. It's like, oh, the reason you haven't seen a script for Batman Brave and the Bold is there isn't one, or however they phrased it in that the hot topic or that one section of Hollywood Reporter.
Yeah, that's what. I'm not trying to be flippant or anything. I'm not trying. That's all it means. That's it. That's all it means. That there's no script. It's not the next movie out. It's not even the next thing in production. So there's no script. And he has stated before that they're not going forward anything until there's a script. There is no set time for a script to get done either. Some people can do them really quick. Some people take forever. And that's it. And I think a lot of times people might read into these delays and start packaging other things to them. And then the trades get a hold of it, and then they need clicks. They're desperate for viewers and stuff. So they'll put their spin on it. But right now, I think all it means, and I hate to be simplistic, is that there's no script. That's really all. I don't have anything else to add to that one. All right, Night of Champions. Yeah, Night of Champions was yeah, we'll get into that later on. How you doing, Aaron? How you doing, William? Are you hungry? Yeah, I actually got my sister Kim's here.
By the way, Aaron also she and Little Movie Perp, because I was I actually had kind of a unusually busy Saturday. I was helping with the kids test. I had my own classes. We had the parents' night out that we do every couple months that I was helping out with tonight. So I actually have, I am pretty wiped out after this is now I've got a 4-day weekend coming up, 4th to 4th of July. So that's looking forward to that. But so I was other than sharing that article, I was mostly offline today. But Aaron, a Little Movie Perp, had back and forth on something involving that's a blend of horror and martial arts, and it's an awesome thread. So give that a look, guys, because that trailer's awesome. We're all looking forward to it. We're definitely gonna be.
Is this about science fiction, fantasy, or horror? Or is this some kind of shit?
No, actually, this is it's a sci-fi kind of thing with martial arts in it. So it counts.
Okay, so some kung fu bullshit. All right.
Yes, Aaron.
I gotta switch over to the server
again. I was. You guys kind of you were going at it. You were. It's called Ghost Killer, and you guys were like really having a very enthusiastic back for it. So again, I wasn't able to be online for live today, but I drop in and see that. Like, yeah, Can't wait to talk about this with the movie Perp and Aaron. We are very much looking forward to it. Then I use the gif of Lex Luthor from BVS. I love it. I love bringing people together. There you go. I think William's frozen. I'll talk to you guys while William's getting unfrozen. I saw it last week. Pretty good follow-up overall, I'll say. It was pretty good follow-up. I mean, belated follow-up. Let's see. You also got some people saying Superman's going to make more of Fantastic Four doing the whole Marvel versus DC crap. Yeah, but I mean, and
all right.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of
all right. We're StreamYard. StreamYard is. Hold on.
Yeah, you froze there for a minute.
StreamYard is jamming us up because you're freezing and so am I. All right, I think we got it back.
You also got some people.
Yeah, so did you on my end. 28 years later, I still haven't seen it. I have no plans of seeing it.
We also got some people saying Superman is going to make more of Fantastic Four doing the. Yeah, but I mean that's like, I will say I do think that is less widespread now than it was like during circa 2015 to like 2018, like the whole particularly like I think back then it was particularly Marvel fans like really using the success of the MCU to bash on DC, and you just in general, and that's the thing. It's like the two companies, the rivalry is a friendly rivalry. It's a friendly banter.
Yeah, at the adult level, level, not at the fan level.
But I will say it's like I do think as far as like the kind of competitiveness among like Marvel and DC movie fandoms, I do feel like that has simmered down in the last, maybe because we've got past Endgame. I don't know, but I feel like it's less intense than it was like circa 2015, 2018. By the way, hi Spidey, hi Hank.
Well, people, a lot of those people that were 12 years old and 13-year-olds and acting like 12 and 13-year-olds have grown up into 22, 23, 24 years old, so they're not doing this stupid shit that they did in front of the computers back when they were kids. They're actually adults with kids half the time. Let's see. Here's Joga is determined to get a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle reference every fucking show. Let's see. Brad causing trouble again, of course, and then RJ, you're literally the same.
I'm using a photo.
William,
show off that merch stuff you can buy from him. Respect. Well, but I mean, again, like it is also. I mean, Williams, he's a fan of Zack Snyder's work on DC, and he's been a comic book guy his whole life. So,
yeah, I don't know what suggests people to say that people who like a certain type of movie don't read something. I don't understand what possesses people to say things like that. I was just kind of curious. My only two concerns. You guys are still talking about AI. I got to get down here. 28 years later, I thought you would have been there first to see that, but like I said, let me know how it is because, like I said, I'm not a. Oh my God! Hey, Anthony, we got to shorten these questions up, man. William, what are your thoughts on fans and even some reporters saying that James Gunn might be in over his head, and the DCU might fail because of lack of success? Supergirl. That's speculative bullshit. Is what that is. It's just bullshit. It's that somebody, we can't. There's no way you be able to know that until you see it, even no result. If we start seeing the movie, the actual product, and it looks like it's being made by somebody that's strained, if that's even something we can identify, then yeah, it would be like. But right now, we have nothing to go on. We have absolutely no data to go on. We have no results to go on. I know I can't tell you anything about Superman's movie, whether it looks like it was rushed or anything else, because I haven't seen the movie yet. So anybody who's saying that is speculating. They're not inside. We don't know how he's delegating his people. He may have a staff of 100 people under him that makes the job easy. We don't know that. We're fans, and being a fan is cool. But the most important part of being a fan is knowing what you know and knowing what you don't know. You're not in with the executives. You're not in with the creators. You're sitting in front of a screen with me guessing. So when I hear reporters and things like people who are not on the inside of that process and people who, quite honest, are not the judge of his work, he has a boss, he has stock, he has people that will be able to evaluate that prior to the movie coming out. Now, once we see a movie and it looks like, oh my God, there's this being missed, there's this being missed, and then we can judge it. But right now, until July 11th or July 7th for me comes around, none of this stuff really matters to me. Game City Saver. Have you guys read the book James Gunn made called the Toy Collector that was released this year? No, I have not.
I didn't even know he. Yeah, I wasn't aware that. Is it a book or is it a comic? What exactly is it?
I guess it's a book. What are you talking about, dude? You couldn't have been listening. I promoted that every day. I got T-shirts over here. I thought you were supposed to come to Vegas and grab one. I promoted it. I promoted it for 2 weeks solid, dude. I literally promoted it heading into the show. So it was one of the first things I did. All right, Brad. So let's go ahead and speaking of Megan 2.0, the movie I didn't promote, but yes, I really did promote
that an hour ago.
Yeah, let's go ahead and.
Well, first of all, before I even get into that, because you asked me if I had seen Jurassic, have there been like early showings already of Jurassic World?
Oh yes, there have been.
Yeah, okay.
There have been. I'm sorry. Yeah, I asked you if you've seen that.
Yeah, because I haven't had a chance to. Yeah,
next week.
So I'll be seeing it next week with everybody else. So
I got an invite, I think, to the Secret Cinema one. I knew what it was. I didn't go because I didn't have any desire to see it. So Megan, it is.
Yes, Megan 2.0. Yes, just saw it, and there's some. There's been some commentary on it where it kind of talk about like the tone shift or the genre shift, where like the first one is, very techno horror and with kind of a hint of like black comedy to it, and this one kind of shifts a little bit more into like sci-fi comedy and sci-fi action. And one thing I said, and this is before I saw it, is there's precedent for like that kind of like shift in focus or shift in genre from movie 1 to movie 2, and you think about like Terminator and T2 or Alien to Aliens. So I didn't think that was necessarily going to be a bad thing with this. And but as for Megan 2, finally seeing it, overall I say I liked it about as much as I did the first one. And it definitely does not just a tone shift, but also like a kind of a characterization shift with the title character, who goes from very much villain to hero in this. As you probably saw from plenty of the marketing, there, cliff notes, there is a new kind of ascendant AI program that's is personified in this movie, and Megan ends up being resurrected as kind of the force to combat that. And yeah, it's not really going for necessarily to kind of like the Blumhouse sort of scary feel to it. It's definitely, I don't know if I'd say tongue in cheek, more tongue in cheek than the first one, but it's definitely again got more of like an action comedy vibe, and I'd say it no pun intended, like fleshes Megan out a lot more. It's like Megan feels much more. You get more of a sense of like who like Megan is, and compared to the first one where she has her personality, but again, it's like it's still, I think, intentionally kept you a little bit distant from her, and by design, because the idea is that she is like kind of like this AI who's meant to sort of be like meant to in that movie represent kind of the opposite of humanity, and this one it really tries to go in the different direction where it's like she goes a lot closer to being human. And there's it takes some twists in there that I wasn't expecting. I certainly was not expecting multiple Steven Seagal movies to get name dropped in a particular climactic moment. And I'll just leave that unrevealed. I'm sure William will be like, when you see it, it's like, oh man, it's actually kind of clever how they do that part where like of all things to do. I mean, this is better than anything Steven Seagal has done in the last quarter century. But overall, definitely with my kind of like genre leanings, the seasoning of martial arts and fight choreography they add into this is definitely very welcome, very well handled. Has a little bit of like an Alita Battle Angel feel to it in that regard. So I think I think the tone shift and the genre shift are handled actually fairly seamlessly, going from the first one to the second one. And I think if you like the first one, and if you can keep that in mind going into this, that this is that this is a transitional movie. This is okay. The first one is horror. This one is, sci-fi action, comedy blend. I think you'll probably dig it a lot. I think overall this is, if you're able to, and I think most people will be able to, kind of differentiate, what each Megan is trying to be. The first one is meant to be, again, more of like a, techno slasher kind of movie, and this is meant to, be more of like again, a little bit more of an Alita Battle Angel esque kind of a, robo, kung fu warrior chick, futuristic, sci-fi action comedy. I think you'll probably enjoy it. So overall, had a lot of fun with Megan 2.0, and if elements of the ending are any indication, there will probably be a Megan 3.0.
Oh, it's definitely going to be. They're already getting that together. So, all right. Well, there you go. Promoted Megan all this week. I have T-shirts here for you. If you were in the Las Vegas area, I would send them out to you guys. But I mean, I don't know if anybody wants to. Hold on for a second. I'll show you. You want a free shipping?
Oh, you've seen a fourth? Okay.
Here they are. And the studio really wanted these T-shirts gone because they sent me a bunch. Because usually we run out of like extra larges and stuff and mediums. But yeah, I still have them there. There she is, right there. I still have some from the last promotion. So if you're in the Las Vegas area and you would like a T-shirt, I got plenty. I even got some posters too. That concludes your review. Concludes the Megan 2.0 promotion, and now we are on to Superman. And this is, the next promotions I'm doing is not going to be for, I'm going to Warner Brothers screening on Monday the 7th, but the promotion that we're doing, and they sent me a lot of posters, so. But yeah, we'll be giving away some stuff. I got Superman magnets that we'll be giving away on July 10th. I got the posters. I got all kinds of stuff. I got comic books that we're going to be giving away. So I will see it on July 7th, and then the very first screening available for the general public will be 3 p.m. on Thursday, and that's where we'll have our theater rented out for us. So if you are vacationing, planning on being here, in a couple of weeks, there's something for you to do. All right, so now quickly, we're going to go into WWE's Night of Champions, which was just another Raw. So it opened up King of the Ring final. Cody Rhodes predictably defeated Randy Orton to become the 2025 King of the Ring. Hit him with the crossroad. That was about it. Street Fight, Rhea Ripley defeated Raquel Rodriguez. It was supposed to be a tag team match, but Liv Morgan injured her shoulder, so Raquel's still walking around with the belts. And she defeated her. I think it was via submission. Sami Zayn defeated Karrion Kross, which is that's kind of a shame. I wish they would do something with Killer Kross, but oh well. Solo Sikoa defeated Jacob Fatu. Went about everybody from the bloodline entered this match. Hikuleo, who is one of their brothers, Tongaloa's brother, he made his debut, and there was a bunch of run-ins in this match. The match was decent until all that happened. But yeah, he hits him with the Samoa Spike. Jade Cargill defeated Asuka. This is another predictable one to become the 2025 King of the Ring. So she'll be at SummerSlam main eventing. I find her quite bland. I don't think she has improved as far as selling her moves as much as she should be, and within the time that she's been a professional wrestler. But she has that look. So there you go. John Cena defeated CM Punk. Another run-in laden match. You had Seth Rollins trying to cash in the Money at the Bank. You had his crew come out. You had a referee bump, and you had another referee try to come out, and John Cena tackled him, and ended up doing the AA on CM Punk after he got screwed out of the match. I don't like these pay-per-views in Saudi Arabia. I don't need to see a bunch of skin on scantily clad women or anything else, but the way things are muted, they change their product to take that bag of money. And it's, the product's not that good to begin with. And when you have to mute your product because so it's not to defend, it really took me out of the game. It took me out of it. And like I said, it was just a good Raw. It was a Saturday afternoon Raw, so there you go. That's why I only put them two in the thumbnail, because the entire show was basically a Raw on Saturday, like the old days when they used to do Saturday morning Superstars of Wrestling. That's basically what this was. So there you go on that one. All right, let's see. What's crazy is you go back to older Raws and you got matches like Stone Cold versus Undertaker. Well, yeah, you would have the week after the day after SummerSlam '98, where Kane beat Steve Austin for the title. He held it for a day, and then the very next day on Raw, Stone Cold beat him. You had all kinds of matches, and that was on free TV. So yeah. You need to pay for shipping and handling, and I'll send you one. Or if you're coming out here. William, do you think this is slowly turning Cody into a bad guy because it feels weird having a babyface win the King of the Ring without turning? Not necessarily, because you have a heel. I think that's I think you have John Cena as your heel, so you don't really need to turn him heel at all. You don't need to. I don't think they're ever going to turn Cody heel again. I think there's just too much money in having Cody Rhodes as what he is right now. And when you have a John Cena, I don't know how long he's going to hold that title, but King of the Ring, I pretty much sure the winner of King of the Ring goes on to the SummerSlam main event. So there you go. Like I said, I had this up here, so it wasn't like I had to make room in my day to watch it. It's not like, a New Japan pay-per-view or an AEW pay-per-view where I'm actually like attentive and, I got to stop whatever I'm doing and turn my chair towards the screen. These matches, when it comes to the WWE product, I hate to keep bashing it, but it's just going through the motions. I'm a wrestling fan. They are the world's largest promotion, so I watch it and report on it as much as I can. But remember what I said, guys. I'm a better presenter when it's stuff that I actually enjoy. I watch this because it's an event, it's a pay-per-view, it's a PLE, and I know as a wrestling geek, I'm going to get asked, so I was ready. Here we go. Do you think Braun Breaker being part of Seth's faction, barking like a dog, will benefit him, or should he go back to dominant singles guy? I don't think it could hurt him at this point. For all I know, they could have a situation to where he's going to turn on Seth, or Seth will do something. So it depends on where the story's going, but he's young enough into his career where I think he's got time to settle in, because right now the top of WWE there's a logjam there. So a guy like him is not going to really get a lot of that praise yet. But as we move past the CM Punk era, as we move past the John Cena era, I think that there are feuds out there that are available for Braun Breaker. I'd love to see a Braun Breaker Cody Rhodes match. So he's still got time. Hi, Texas Granny. Thank you for always watching the replay. I love hearing that. Yes, I did. I saw that. I would have put MJF coming in there with that mask on the thumbnail, but I don't know how many people watch MLW. I watch MLW. Jacob Fatu was the MLW champion before he got signed with WWE. Major League Wrestling is a really good promotion. It's a lot of fun to watch. I hope people don't say, I don't know what their TV deal is, but yeah, I did see that. When MJF, who has a history with MLW, and he hadn't been seen there in 5 years. That was kind of a shock. A lot of people were like, holy shit, when they saw that. Thank you, Texas Granny. And I love your screen name, by the way.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Now we get into the geek. Well, we're not already in the geek portion. I have been saying for the last year and a half that in order for DC Comics, DC brand to carry on, improve, and grow, it can't just be about a movie. It can't just be about any one particular aspect of it. I have been saying that everything has to be clicking. Every division of DC has to be clicking, so that when you invite somebody into one door, they're not just going to take a look at the living room and leave. You want them to take a tour of the whole house. You want them to see the fine jewelry. You want them to see the cutlery and all the stuff, your big 65, 75-inch TV. You just don't want them to come for a movie and then leave. Once they come into the DC brand, they need to stay there if you're going to make any significant impact, especially revenues wise. And one of the things that they have been doing with the comics is making the comics much more accessible to first time people that walk into my door. Whether it be by doing the compact books where they basically take a story and they make little books of them and they compact. I sell out of those things. I got more on the way. And what that does is it allows a customer to come in. There's a lot of stuff when you have these little mini series within a series that the average first timer doesn't need. So what they've been doing is they've been breaking down the comics to the point where it simplifies it. If that person wants to go any deeper, they can do so on their own, but they don't have to be intimidated. There's these little pocketbooks, and like I said, as soon as I get them, they're gone. Another thing that they're doing is re-explaining their history. They're not rebooting per se, but they're re-explaining their history and things like the history of the DC universe. In fact, this is not a good example because this is just a cover I prefer. I love this cover. This is the variant. This is cover C, and the history of the DC universe is in a comic book form, but it's more of a, I don't want to say a review because it's the way it's done and the way it reads out is it's a timeline. They start from the beginning of the Cosmo. They start with the Monitor, the Anti-Monitor, and the World Forger. They start at the beginning of the galaxies, and what Mark Waid is doing here is he's giving you a complete, and it's told through the eyes of a retired Barry Allen. He's retired as a Flash now, and he's basically doing a memoir of the entire universe because the unique ability of having him have seen multiverses. He's the most uniquely placed person to tell you this story. So what they've done is they've basically gone through everything that's gone on through DC, and they've added things. They've realigned things like the Sandman. You know, the creation of the Endless came at the same time that the Monitor and the Anti-Monitor and the Source, all that comes about to being at the same time. Whereas with the way it was presented before, these things kind of existed in the same universe, but they were always on separate paths. So they reintroduce them. There's some milestone stuff that they line up with the current universe. But there are some significant differences that if you have been reading DC Comics for a long time, you'll know. But if you're brand new, this flows for you. I would recommend for those of you who I get this question every single day when people come in. When it comes to Marvel, DC, Boom Studios, anything, where do they start? And we've even done portions of our show to give you that. I did not have this as my disposal. To me, the very first thing I'm going to hand you when you ask me that question before I get you into the trades and some of the pocketbooks, it's going to be this. This serves as a primer, and it allows you to look at what they're doing now all across DC with a different perspective than I would have as somebody who's collecting 40 years. They don't need to really do that for me because I've been there the whole time. It doesn't necessarily rewrite history, but it gives it to you in an explanation, and it shows you what their priorities going forward are going to be. These are the things that we're going to be focusing on as far as the DC universe. So you as a brand new collector, this is the thing that you need to be focusing on as a brand new collector. All of us other guys, and I'm going to give you one of the prime examples of one of the changes that they've made that they lined up. This is Wonder Woman, right? Identifiable as Wonder Woman. Kind of see that, right? This isn't Diana. This is her mother. So in this imagining of it, her inspiration to become Wonder Woman is directly from her mother, from Hippolyta. So I don't know what that means as far as like Zeus and everything else goes, but they also approach the Justice Society in a different way. They show you all of them. They show you their lineage. They show you how they were treated and ostracized after World War II. When after World War II, the world didn't want heroes like that anymore. And then it shows you the coming of the golden age of civil. But it does it it does it in a way that, like Zack Snyder's Justice League, where we see the what we call it the history lesson.
Yep.
When Darkseid comes, this is basically 30 some odd pages of that, and it flows, and it's a timeline, and it allows you to go from the beginning. It even shows you things from the Vertigo universe that aren't necessarily constantly referred to in the mainline DC, even though they're part of the DC universe. It retells you the origin of the Starheart, the original Green Lantern, Hawkman, Hawkwoman. Because if you know anything about the Hawk people, they have like about 10 different continuities.
Yeah, that's what makes it complicated. Like adapting Hawkman, I mean, you literally have to, like Black Adam, and like they had Hawkman and Black Adam, and now Hawkgirl and Superman. I mean, you literally have the question of like which Hawkman, Hawkgirl are we using?
John Henry Jr. Sparky, the Creature Commandos are in there. They're aligned with this current universe. There they are, right there. Let's see some of the stuff that's in here that's really the All-Star Heroes. These are abstract things that were in DC, but they weren't part of continuity. So a lot of what this does is it lines it back up with current continuity. There's a couple of things in here. Magic. It gives you the origin of magic. This isn't like the Doomsday Clock where Dr. Manhattan was responsible for everything. That's been retconned, thank God, because that was stopped. It wasn't retconned.
It was pre-conned or unconned, or like, yeah, it was prevented con.
Yeah,
we're going to go with
origin of Phantom Stranger. All these things, the trial of JSA, and it brings you all the way up. There's a project. What was it called? Hold on. By Miles Curler, Martin Stein, Simon Stagg. It was called the Superman Project. And it attracts the Martian Manhunter. And then it also shows you where Superman comes into all this. And also what it does, which is really good, just to let you know that this is not a reboot, because you know what I think about reboots. All right. When lazy and stupid fuck, reboot is a child that you end up not wanting, but now it's here. They give you a bibliography. So it's not just Mark Waid just retconning and throwing in a bunch of stuff. He's actually giving you, so right here, when he's talking about Merlin, and they incorporate Merlin and the Knights of the Pendulum, all that is incorporated in the continuity now. But they let you know, if you wanted to read the issues, they give you a bibliography, and they actually show you pieces of the comics that you can actually go get. So what they're doing is like the reverse of what Crisis did, which is like eliminate stuff. No, they're basically lining their priorities up and telling you where to go get this stuff. So if you want to, like, I'll give you an example. This is the King Arthur stuff. All right, so if you wanted to learn about Samuel Augustine Adams, it tells you Uncle Sam, the Spectre, 1992, issue number 38. So if you wanted to get into back issues and you're brand new and you wanted to read these things like that, this gives you that. This is, like I said, I don't need this personally, but this is about growing the DC brand. So taking advantage of the heat that this movie's getting, or that these shows are getting, and people are walking in, and they may not walk into a comic book store. It may be Barnes and Nobles. It may be a Walmart. It may be some particular place that 7-Eleven. But hopefully it is a place like this. But for me, this makes my job easier, man. This makes my job, as long as you can read, this really lays things out for you, and you have your options. If you want to study the metaphysical end of DC and where it's going to mean coming forward in 2025, 2026, you can do it here, and it gives you the tools to follow up. If you want to, the Justice Society is really important in all this. If you want to learn about the Justice Society, going from here, it gives you everything that you need, all your references to go find out about the Justice Society. And it actually makes it fun. This was fun to look at. And this is coming from somebody who knows most of this stuff. It was really fun to take a look at, because it's a beginning point. It's done in the form of a comic, but it's more like a lesson than anything. Let me show you real quick. I'll be right back. I had these up here, but I forgot why I bought them up here to show you guys, and I put them back on the show. Hold on.
All right. Check out the colors. What do you mean? Hey, Bell Rev. Yeah, well, we were talking about the feature I wrote, kind of related to that, which is in the chat. If you want to give that a look, pretty solid. If I do say so myself, I admit I am biased. I think everything I write is solid, or I wouldn't write it, would I? Let's see. Going back.
Ooh, ow. Damn, that was almost took my fucking ear off. So this is I only have 3 covers because the other one's still out. This is the Wonder Woman. This is the same Wonder Woman that's on that variant cover, but this is a nice cover. That's her. That's the World War II Wonder Woman. But once again, it's not like the previous continuities where it's Diana all the way through and then Crisis and all that other madness. And then this is the A cover, and it's like it's almost like the Encyclopedia of the Marvel Universe, except it doesn't break down individuals. It breaks down events. It breaks down, so it goes from the beginning of time all the way till now. And this is a 4-issue miniseries, by the way, so they're not done yet. I recommend people who, even if you're reading Marvel and Marvel is your primary, but you're thinking about, because the conversation is going, you want to get into DC, but you're looking at it like, oh my god, Action Comics is on 1080 something, Detective Comics is on 1060 whatever, and Wonder Woman is on issue 700. You can either do one of two things. You can just stick to the absolute line, which is perfectly fine with me. But if you want to delve into the history and see where they're going with this, and they're doing this for you, they're doing this for the new collector. They're kind of doing it for us too, so that we know where they're going with this. But like I said, if you were to read this, if I were just to hand this to you and say, hey, read this and come back, you're going to come back with a whole bunch of questions that I can easily answer. And this, with the bibliography alone, is going to lead you somewhere. Hey, if you don't want to buy, some of this shit's expensive. I mean, you're talking about some Golden Age stuff that's a few $100 just on the low end. But guess what? With this bibliography, I can tell you what trade paperback to get. Or I can tell you if you're a digital guy, but if you're a digital guy, I'd rather have you reading than not. I can go to DC whatever universe and tell you there you go. But it lays out a path that they just the biggest problem with DC since 1986 is making it easier to be a DC reader. That is something that in the last 40 fucking years that they have just not done. If anything, they've made it harder. Crisis, that's in the multiverse. Up, 0 Hour, Infinite Crisis, Final Crisis. Let's spend the next 40 years bringing all that back. Oh, no, Hawk Girl, you want to split your brain cells into 10,000 pieces? Let me explain to you Power Girl or Hawk, the Thanagar. I mean, this, see what I mean? It's just like it's homework on top of homework for a class you didn't even want to take to begin with. So I think with things like this, the movies and everything else, the movie is just the beginning of the conversation. The cartoons that you're watching is just the beginning of the conversation. If you got a 15-year-old kid and coming into anything with this big DC on it, you should really be thinking about keeping that kid for the rest of his life and him bringing his kids to this, creating brand extension. And this like I said, I knew this was coming out, but I really, until I actually had a chance to sit down and read it, I wasn't as impressed until I read it. And I immediately was able to sell this to somebody else who immediately was emailing me back about, do I have certain issues? Can I get this? What form should I get this in? And then I was able to go from there. It allows me to augment their experience. I love this book. And like I said, not a spectacular storyline or anything else, but it's a blueprint. If it, just like Scott Snyder, what he's doing with the Absolute Universe should be the basic framework of telling that type of story. This, for everything else, this is probably the most easy, accessible thing for me to give somebody brand new since this DC New Frontier. DC New Frontier, they come in, hey, I'm familiar with these characters, but I'm not quite, bam, before I even finish, I put this in their hands. Now I can do this. It's a direct correlation. So I am over the moon about the new history of DC. Not for what it does for me as an old timer, but what it does for the people that I hope, July 11th opens the door for, and then beyond that, because a lot of the stuff, and it's another thing that this is doing, is it's embracing everything DC has been. Instead of retconning shit, making shit disappear, and re-examining and doing all this, it literally takes everything that is already DC and makes it relevant again. It just connects it differently than it's been done in the last maybe 36, 35 years. So highly recommend this. Go to your comic book store owner, go to wherever. I don't know where else it'll be available for, but pick this up. Pick this up, then head on to the other stuff. Head on the Absolute DC, But yeah, I thought this was hugely important. And like I said, we got the solicitation on it. I'm like, okay, cool, another history story, blah, whatever. But then I read it. Then I love the way it's being narrated from Barry Allen's point of view, given what he can do and where he can go. So that's perfect. But yeah, I wasn't a big fan of Mark Waid's DC stuff outside of Kingdom Come, because I know how I know how his mindset is about some of these characters, but did a good job here. So there you go. I can't recommend this any more than I have. So all right, now we'll take some questions from our adoring public here. Show what?
Showing this comic, William, is Wally West, the Flash already was there to retire. Are you talking about Absolute Flash?
Yeah. In this comic, in the DC history, yeah, he's retired. There is another Flash. Cosmo, is that Superman's other pet? Don't. I know he's got the super monkey, the horse, and after that, I stopped paying attention. No, I don't think there's a. Nah. He's got the super monkey, Comet the super horse, but I don't see anything else in there. William, what do you think needs to happen? And guys, I thought I was the typo fuck up. What I think needs to happen is once a comic book writer completely finishes their run on a character, they should automatically release an omnibus. Well, a lot of them do. A lot of them do that already. Like Fred Hickman, Fantastic Four is already one. He'll have his omnibus for his stuff he did on X-Men. Frank Miller has an omnibus for Daredevil. So yeah, most of the big ones do. But you got to realize omnibuses are super expensive. So they're not the biggest movers. So that's why trade paperbacks are the more accessible place. I have been able to watch some. I watched some of the Best of the Super Juniors. I was not able to watch it. Okay. Just making sure I'm not missing anything. I have not. Yeah. Power Girl. That's a whole sordid history. No, I have not seen F1 yet. I'm probably going to end up having to see F1 at the house, even though that's probably a movie that I should see. It's just at the time. All right, so I am going to put some spotlight on my favorite sponsor of this entire operation, and that's me. We are mowing through these topics quicker than I thought. So my next, this one hurts. This next topic kind of makes me feel like shit. Age of Apocalypse. This time, 30 years ago, I was in my first full year of business. And this is one of the biggest sellers. The 90s were dragging and things would get worse. A lot of just really, I mean, X-Men was in my opinion, one of the last comics to still have good stories throughout most of the 90s. Fatal Attractions, Extinction Agenda, the Failings Covenant. They were one of the title that was still selling, in my opinion, sellable stuff. Batman, Superman. Once they had the hotshot stories, the clientele dropped after everybody realized that, oh, you purchased 150 Superman 75s and now you want to sell them next week. And once people realized that that was kind of worthless at the time, they left. And a lot of the industry just, we've gone over that. But X-Men, what Lobdell, Nick Aiza, and Joe Madureira, what those guys were doing in the mid '90s was holding up the industry. Age of Apocalypse was released 30 years ago this summer. What Age of Apocalypse was an alternate reality storyline that came from Legion, David Haller, who is Charles Xavier's super powerful psychic son. He thought he was doing his father a favor because of what happened with Magneto, what happened with Fatal Attractions, what Charles had to do to Magneto, which would create Onslaught. That's a whole nother mess. And he knew that he just wanted to rid his father of that enemy. So he goes back in time. In an attempt to kill Magneto. Unfortunately, he accidentally kills Charles Xavier. And this took place in like the 60s or whatever. And from that point on, there is no Charles Xavier, which means the X-Men, as we know them, never came to be. And it allowed Apocalypse, basically the alpha mutant of the era, to come in unopposed without any organized resistance to stop him from coming to power. Ironically, Magneto survives the assassination attempt, and he becomes the hero. He becomes the guy who brings everyone together. He's the one that leads and splits up the Astonishing X-Men and the X-Men and Generation X and all these groups to organize against Apocalypse and against the Resistance. Now, Bishop is from another reality in a different time anyway. So when the timeline was set, he was never in that timeline to begin with. So when everything else disappears, he's still there in that timeline, and he grows old throughout to our current timeline. He's the only anchor to the reality that's been wiped out. And he finds his way to Magneto, and they realize he's telling the truth. So the MCON crystal is how they're going to do this, how they're going to reset everything. Everybody gets sent on these missions. So Uncanny X-Men is turned into the Astonishing X-Men. You got the Amazing X-Men. You have Generation X. Excalibur was renamed. Every book was renamed for 4 months. And it started with X-Men Alpha. X-Men Alpha was what happened right after, I think it was X-Men 321. It was a storyline called Legion Quest. Legion Quest is where David Haller gets the idea that, he's been such a disappointment. He's just been called. He's a disaster, and he wanted to do this. So X-Men Alpha is this one right here. It's the one that's on the thumbnail. Now, X-Men Alpha was it started with X-Men Alpha and it ended with X-Men Omega. X-Men Alpha was back in the area where chromium covers were starting to be the thing, and it was the first X-Men that was done that way. And then you see all the principles on the cover. Obviously, for those of you who've seen Deadpool and Wolverine, you'll recognize there's a Wolverine there. That's where that Wolverine initiated, where he only has the one arm. Character named Blink, who died in the Failings Covenant, which is a preceding storyline. In this reality, she's alive. She became immensely popular after that and ended up keeping around. Magneto is there. Quicksilver is there. Bishop is right in the middle there, and then Sunfire is the mystery character that they had been marketing the whole thing about. Apocalypse has his henchmen, Abyss, Holocaust. Scott Summers is one of them. You know, and everything that Charles Xavier would have touched and affected didn't happen. And Magneto fills the void on the heroic end, but Apocalypse fills it on the non. And now a lot of the things that got left over from this, once the universes, basically what happens is at the end they use Bishop. Bishop gets back there. They were able to use Crown Crystal to put Bishop back at where David Haller is about to kill him, and he's able to stop it, and it resets his universe. And the Crown Crystal, basically, if I can remember correctly, just it collapses on itself. All those alternate realities go away. Some of those characters came over. X-Men, Nate Summers came over. X-Men was a genetic experience using Jean Grey and Scott Summers that happened in this universe. Dark Beast, for those of you who were rolling, he was an evil version of Hank McCoy that used the Crown Crystal to come over into our universe, and they ended up retconning the Mutant Massacre to him and Mr. Sinister, which was totally stupid. But there was a couple of things that that lasted, and it was only supposed to be a 4-issue miniseries, but a couple of things that, you know, it was so popular that they kept certain elements on it. So I'm going to give you the synopsis of it. All right. Let's see. All right, this is actually right. So what it is was all right, here we go. In a twisted version of the world that they, I gotta mute you. Hold on. There you go. Thank you. That's a StreamYard thing. I hope they fix that. In a twisted version of the world that they knew, the inhabitants battle against the eternal mutant apocalypse. As Bishop seeks to repair the timeline that began when Legion, Professor X's own son, tried to kill off all of his father's enemies. However, when Legion attempted to murder Magneto, Xavier sacrificed his own life to save Magnus. As a result, Magneto cast off as anti-human sentiments and carried on Xavier's dream of peaceful coexistence, thereby founding the X-Men. All right, so the tie-ins, it began with X-Men Alpha, #1. Part 2 is Age of Apocalypse: The Chosen. These are things that they retconned and put in afterwards. From the top, Generation X #1, Astonishing X-Men #1, Excalibur spelt with an X, Gambit and the Externals was another one that they created. Weapon X, which is Wolverine, Amazing X-Men, which is Uncanny X-Men, Factor X, which is X Factor, X-Man, which is an entirely new comic, but it was taking over for what Cable was. Amazing X-Men. And then let's see. So yeah, it was 16 issues total with all the comics. And like I said, it was one of the best-selling things of the 90s. It turned Sabretooth into a hero. Wild Child's on his shoulder. Like I said, and they came out, they stopped X-Men. So X-Men was on issue 321. So for those 4 months, there was no Uncanny X-Men. It was Amazing X-Men. For those 4 months, there was no X-Men. There was Astonishing X-Men. For those 4 months, no Cable, X-Men. So all the comics, all the mutant books reflected what had happened in the timeline for those 4 issues. And then once the storyline was over, once everything had been restored, those books ceased to exist. But certain characters came over. It was very unique. Nothing like that had ever been done before. If you had a crossover or something like that that took place in an alternate universe, it took place parallel alongside of the story that was being told. So, like, I'll give you a great example. Days of Future Past, Nightmares of Future Past, with the Sentinels taking over and wiping out mutant kind. That took place within X-Men 141, 142. It was... Oops, hold on. Okay. Yeah, so those kind of stories would happen. they would either retcon the book for good, or they would do an Elseworld. They would do something else, but they never halted the books. X-Men, all the X books were halted for 4 months and were replaced by these. It was unique. It was different. It was definitely something the 90s needed for sure. And it has had effects throughout the last 30 years. There are characters that, like I said, X-Man was bought over, one of the very first Omega level mutants that they actually used in that regard. Now Franklin Richards, Vulcan, those kind of characters are considered that. The Dark Beast, which was huge, they used the hell out of him during the 90s. Onslaught, a lot of these characters came over, and to this day, they are still telling stories from Age of Apocalypse. They just released right now, and I should have bought this over here with me. In fact, let me do that. I got it. Like, by the way, when I prepare for the show, guys, I put it up there, I stack it up, but then I'm like, hey, I got a couple.
But why did I bring this to this or that? Or
yeah, and then I'll put everything back on the shelf like a dumbass. So give me a second here.
Okay, I'll talk to you guys about Kung Fu while William's away. Aaron says this X-Men comic book storyline seems heartbreaking. Yeah, I mean, I think I certainly would agree, and I think William would too. No, I have not. I'm probably going to go try to see that tomorrow night. Would have seen it tonight, but yeah, it was an unusually kind of busy Saturday for me today. Sleep with the dead after we watched the show tonight. Yeah, Aaron says, yeah. Anthony asked me if I'd seen F1. I'm probably going to see it tomorrow. And Aaron says, this X-Men comic storyline seems heartbreaking.
It is, and it went places. It went places that they weren't doing. Like I said, some of you guys weren't alive in the 90s. Some of you guys were very young in the 90s. The 90s sucked. I mean, other people may have a different opinion. The 90s is where, to me, comic books lost their way, and we weren't telling stories anymore. We were telling headlines. We weren't putting together storylines that were compelling. People were trying to grow the audience with the average person by just saying, "Hey, look, Batman's paralyzed." Oh, look, we killed Superman, even though we were in the fucking Pee-wee's magazine, The Return of Superman, before issue 75 came out. That's its own disaster. They weren't telling stories. This X-Men were still telling stories. Age of Apocalypse, this is something that just came out this week. They've been releasing Giant Size X-Men's, and this is one that just came out. Giant Size X-Men, Age of Apocalypse. Now, this is a current storyline. This storyline came about 30 years ago, and throughout, if you look up Age of Apocalypse, all the things that have derived from that storyline since 1995, it was more than just 4 issues. It was groundbreaking. It's one of the. I know the term groundbreaking is often overused and over-exaggerated. Not here. Not when it comes to Age of Apocalypse. Here's one character. This is a character that died in X-Men number 37. This is a character called Blink. She died in a she used her portal to save the rest of the New Mutants and Generation X from the Phalanx, which is basically like the technovirus, but in a much more sense way. So it's called the Phalanx Covenant, and it was the crossover that happened the year before. It was the X crossover, X crossover meaning after Mutant Massacre, every fall we had fall of summer we had an X crossover. Phalanx Covenant. She first appears, and she only lasts a couple issues, but she was a popular character. So they brought her back in the storyline, and she ends up being one of the aspects. This is Blink. What I didn't consider a throwaway character, but I'm like, you killed her after 3 issues. So people like the character, and then Scott Lovell, I think, brought her back. She was one of the main characters throughout this comic, and then when that universe collapsed, they kept her alive. So yeah, that was a lot of the things that were happening. But yeah, it was groundbreaking. What makes it heartbreaking, to Aaron's point, was that these guys that are carrying, once they believe what Bishop is telling them, because I forgot how Magneto. It's been years. Magneto was able to find out he was telling the truth. And then all of them come to the realization that if their mission succeeds, they don't exist. if Bishop is returned back to the point where David Haller is stopped from killing Charles Xavier, they don't exist. So they're literally fighting this crusade, but right now they're under the gun. Apocalypse is culling people. He's wiping people out. He's survival of the fittest. He's putting people in camps. So they have to make a choice. Do we will literally want to, sacrifice our existence, or do we want to prevent a world like this from ever coming about? And they decide otherwise. And then as it's happening, as they succeed, they realize that it's the end of their universe. And in the last couple of panels, because it comes down to a physical battle between Magneto and Apocalypse. And it's really kick-ass because Magneto fights him and he uses his, Apocalypse is overpowering. I mean, he thinks he is, but Magneto's just been buying time to basically grab hold of every metallic essence, iron, anything that metallic in his blood, everywhere. He has to concentrate to make sure he can get a good grip on Apocalypse because he's changing shape, and he rips him in two. He rips him in two and kills him as the universe is collapsing. And then the next month, we're back into the normal X-Men. But like the Sugar Man, Nate Gray ends up crossing over to this universe, and there's interaction between him and Cable because he's basically the same guy. And obviously he has parents, genetic parents, Jean Grey and Scott Summer. That creates he ends up being the one that solves the legacy virus, and they all that stuff. So this is when I used to call it turning point stories. This was literally what I mean. Age of Apocalypse was massive. And when you can talk about a story positively 30 years later, that's Age of Apocalypse. And like I said, we're still talking about it today. Brand new on the shelf. So if you don't, if you can get these all in trade paperbacks now, there is an omnibus of this. You can also get the separate editions. You can get the Astonishing X-Men, 4 issues, or in like a one book. Amazing X-Men, 4 issues, 1 book. You can buy them that way. I have some of them here. Or you can just basically, you can get the digital books. Digital books are available. But there's a lot of YouTube videos for those of you who can't afford to go get anything right now, but you're interested in this story. There's some really awesome YouTube videos that are out there that you can look on. But yeah, this was a very important storyline for me. Anything that, once again, there's a pattern here. 1995 was very important for me, period, on every single level. But like I said, this was one of the first major storylines during that era that actually did well, that was bringing people into the store when a lot of other things were driving them away. So Age of Apocalypse, I can't express how important this comic was, both on a personal level, the storyline on a personal level, but on a continuity level and on a quality and narrative level. So, and like I said, nobody's done that since. Nobody has stopped their books and replaced them with alternate titles since Age of Apocalypse did it. So that's it for Age of Apocalypse. If you don't really have to be hardcore into X-Men to pick that up and read it. And it's a timeless one. So it's not like, oh yeah, it's 1995. It's old school. So much other new stuff is happening with X-Men. Nope, doesn't matter. Age of Apocalypse holds up now. You could read Age of Apocalypse now and you'd be better for it. So there you go. Age of Apocalypse, 1995. Happy 30th anniversary. Wow, fuck.
Yeah.
Happy 30th anniversary.
And as Aaron says, a special place by her for Bishops. This is Australian. And
yep.
Yeah, national pride there exists. And Aaron's also got a good question here. Who wins in a fight, Thanos or Apocalypse?
If it's without the Infinity Gauntlet, Apocalypse.
Yeah. That mean you kind of. It's kind of like asking who beats Darkseid. Like, does he have the Omega Sanction or the Anti-Life Equation on his side?
Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that Thanos in his entire history only had that gauntlet for a couple storylines. They assume that that's part of his power structure. No, it's an item. He has the basic powers of an Eternal. He can shoot energy beams. He can do all that but he's not godly without that. Okay. They did that later on. They did that. There's a lot of things that in the last 30 years that were added on that took place during that time because even though it only took place in the X-Men comics for those 4 months, it was a global storyline. The Avengers, everybody was affected within that reality. And then later on, they started telling you stories of other people that were like there's a story, Tales of the Age of Apocalypse. It was great. It was great. All right, let's see what we got here. Did you get pictures? I just sent you an Instagram message. No, let's look. On my phone's over there. You just send them now, Iggy? Let's see. No, I have not gotten them. You sent them to my Instagram. I'm looking at my Instagram messages. I don't have them. Let me refresh my screen. No, I do not have them. Try to resend them. Make sure you're sending them to my Sci-Fi Center address and not anything else because I do have a personal one that I don't use for business. So let me go ahead and make sure that you got the other one in here. There you go. So if you wanted to send me via Instagram, there you go. Galactus and Doctor Doom would kick both of their well. Galactus Galactus could technically take on Thanos even with the Infinity Gauntlet. That he did. And then there are people that could step on Thanos with like the Living Tribunal could like chew him up. And I don't think he could take the Celestials with it. So there are limits to those powers. But Galactus is immensely powerful on his own. His only weakness is that what he has to do to maintain that power. All right. Covered the thumbnails. So happy. Did it in like record time. All right. So yeah, resend those, Hunter. All right, guys. The rest of the show, which should probably be about another 20 minutes or so, is up to you. How do you want to do this? Do you want to ask questions? I'm not doing an open panel. Sorry. But if you have a question or something like that,
just look back at our last Saturday open panel. You want to know why? That like about a month ago?
Yeah, it's about a month ago. It seemed like 1,000 years ago, but what I'm going to do is for those of you who want to, I'm going to put the link to the stuff to Age of Apocalypse so that if you want to do your own research, there it is. All right, let's see. Joe Taylor. Was the PLE any good? I didn't think it was awful, but I didn't think it was predictable. I knew that John Cena wasn't going to lose, so that was predictable. I kind of had a feeling the way they were pushing Jade Cargill that Asuka wasn't beating her. Cody winning the King of the Ring that puts him in a title match. That's what I mean. They painted themselves like a lot of wrestling promotions do, but more so now than this. With this one, they painted themselves with SummerSlam right around the corner. They painted themselves into a corner where you knew that certain people were not going to win. The Solo Sikoa one wasn't a surprise because I knew Hikuleo was coming, and Solo Sikoa doesn't. Jacob Fatu doesn't need that belt to be over. Whereas I think Solo Sikoa needs something to hold on to promote him. So I kind of saw that one coming. The Raquel match, like I said, that match wasn't supposed to be the way it is. I believe. I think Liv Morgan separated her shoulder the other couple of weeks ago. So I don't know what they're doing with the women tag team titles. But the entire PLE seemed like a promo for Raw. Tag team titles on the line. They're just announcing matches for Raw, and then whatever matches weren't announced for Raw, the winners of these matches are going to be at SummerSlam, which, by the way, is not that far away. SummerSlam is usually like in mid to late August. It's like on August 2nd, so that's not that far away. So yeah, I thought it was a decent episode of Raw. The time difference made it feel like superstars of wrestling, so wasn't bad, but it was very predictable. I'm going to rewind. All right, so I still don't have those pictures. Did you send them now? Is this something you sent now, or is this something you sent a while back and I just missed it? Let me know if it's something you sent a couple of days ago. I'll have to check back. But yeah, just getting ready for July. Other than the 100,000-degree heat, this is going to be my favorite month of the year. Got Comic-Con happening. I'm set for Comic-Con. Oh, by the way, guys, you know what to do if you want to send William to Comic-Con in style. There's a little $ in the lower right of the screen right now that will prevent me from eating toast all 4 days of Comic-Con. Right now, without your support, it's going to be toast for breakfast, toast for lunch, toast for dinner, toast for snack, toast for brunch. That's it. And I'm probably going to have to sneak in somewhere to actually get the bread toasted. It's going to be toast and water. So if you would like to send William to Comic-Con in style, then and you want me to watch some ridiculous movie like Mystery Men, it's going to cost you some serious cash because that movie sucks. Ace Ventura.
I'd love to take William up on a suggestion of a double feature of Ace Ventura and Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind.
That's $2 minimum. You got to pay me. Listen, I'd rather you pay me not to watch that movie, but if it's for a good cause. This is so that I can get a kid's meal instead of eating crumbs outside of the McDonald's. I can actually go into the McDonald's and get something to eat, guys. So hook a brother up. And then when you do it, let me know what movie that you want to try to make me suffer through. You know what I mean? So, all right. Question 1. All right. Seth Rollins could literally walk away with that title SummerSlam. I don't know if it's predictable. Well, yeah, it's predictable. I don't think he's going to. I don't think I think they're setting this up for either Cody and Cena for Survivors for SummerSlam, or and then whatever happens after that. But you say that Rollins walking away with the title is not predictable. That's predictable. Him cashing in on the money in the bank is very predictable, especially when he's already done it once on a pay-per-view.
We could be doing a double feature with this, guys.
Not for free. In fact, just seeing it on my screen is making me sick right now. Take it off. But to answer your question, no, I could. That's not unpredictable at all. I could predict that. I knew he wasn't going to do it today, even though I heard them. I heard his music. I saw him come out the briefcase. They do that every now and they'll do that 3 or 4 times before the person actually cashes in. So no, Antonio, I think it's very predictable. Personally. It was it went because of all the losses he took last year and a half. Oh, for Solo. Well, I don't know if Cody's winning, but that's a 50-50 proposition now. That's a 50. The whole goal is for John Cena. He wants to retire at the end of 2025 and take the belt with him. So technically, Survivor Series, he has a couple of pay-per-views, but I don't think they're going to do it. I think they're going to build up a major pay-per-view for it. And you only have you only have 2 major pay-per-views left before 2025 wraps up. It's Survivor Series or SummerSlam. I don't see it happening at, one of the offshoot ones because they are a PLE. I don't see it happening at PLE. I actually see it happening at a actual full-blown one of the traditional ones. So he would cash in like he did at WrestleMania 10 years ago. I think he might cash in, but he might cash in, but I think he's going to lose. I don't think Seth is getting that title like that. I think they're banking on Cena being champion again. Unpredictable is Sasha Banks finally losing. Probably won't happen. John Moxley. I think John Moxley is going to lose. People have been saying that, Darby Allin's coming back. They're going to put the title on him. No, I think Adam Page, I think he pins him in Texas. And I think Mercedes does drop the title in All In. I think she will end up losing because it's been a long time, and I don't think it does her any good to hold on to that title. Actually, no, I'm sorry, she's not dropping the title. I don't think she's placing Mariah, not Mariah. Ooh, she's way gone. Toni Storm. I don't think that's predictable at all. That's another 50-50 proposition. I know that one way or another they need to get all those belts off of Mercedes. So because I don't think she benefits by having 6 belts. I wouldn't be surprised if she drops those titles because her match is set at All In. Doesn't matter. She could drop those titles and win the title at All In, or she could get pinned by Toni Storm. So that's a 50-50. I don't know if that's unpredictable because, like I said, you only got 2 propositions. Yeah, and that's what I mean. That's predictable. But I don't know if Seth Rollins is going to come in and use the Money in the Bank and then set up something for maybe Survivor Series, or he could listen. It's unlike the women have 100%. The women are every woman that's ever claimed the Money in the Bank has won the title. That's not the same thing with the men. There have been men who've lost after they've cashed it in. Seth Rollins could be one of those. I don't think they just built this group up to have their top star in the group lose like that. I think, that's WWE for you, though. They've done that. That's that. I can clearly see them building him up and then building him to lose. These guys, the bookers, the WWE don't think like us. So. Either way, I will be watching it, but not attentively. All right, what else we got? Oh, that's insane. All right, does anybody got any questions about Age of Apocalypse? Before I get rid of my screens, but I still got it up on the screen. They put the belt on Darby Allin. I'm gonna be really mad because I don't think he's that good. Personally speaking, yeah, but the crowd loves Darby Allin. I mean, I needed to. Listen. I don't care who wins it. I just need the Death Rider storyline to end.
One I could say, I could ask Age of Apocalypse. Do you see that being the basis for after Secret Wars and everything being the basis for the MCU's X-Men?
Maybe the end game. I don't know because they've already done it. Well, that's a Fox one, so I could see possibly because I've always said the very first mutant you should see that's recognized as a mutant in the new MCU going forward is Apocalypse, and I think Apocalypse should be their Thanos because of how deadly he is, how dangerous he is, the type of power he wields. He'll come in with celestial knowledge. So I think at the end of a Fantastic Four movie, just like when I forgot who he was and one of his personalities, he escapes the Fantastic Four and he goes 5,000 years back because he knows Apocalypse is there. So that's how I would do it. I don't know how they're going to do it. It's so far away though. I don't know. But yeah, I could see them. I don't know if they'll do an alternate timeline, but I could see them making the MCU, just the MCU proper, a staging ground for that type of story. Yeah, the reason why WWE does Saudi Arabia because it's a lot of money. It's a lot of money, and the Saudis have tons. The Saudis love having events there, and TKO is a greedy company. Every company is greedy, but TKO, I'm not a big fan of the whole thing. I got my personal opinions about holding events there, and some of the things that the Saudis, have been involved in. I'm not a big fan of. If I had a company, I would not be associating it. That's just me. Right here. Don't know. This is the first time hearing about that deal, by the way. Hour 47 minutes. Yeah, these corporations care about money. They don't care. Yeah, and TKO is greedy. They'll cut people just to reroute the money. And they had a the people going on the UFC have had a history of that. look how they treat some of the fighters and how the pay proportions go. I always hear about that. Okie dokie. All right, let's making sure. All right, so we are done with that. All right, 64 of you watching, please like, subscribe, spread the word. If you are watching us on X or whatever, Twitter right now, please come over to the mothership, and I'm going to make it easier for you. I need you to type in this URL. I'm going to take that banner off because I think you guys got the point. There you go, youtube.com/@the-sci-fi center. If you are watching on X right now and you are within the sound of my voice, please come over to youtube.com/@the-sci-fi center. We don't get anything from Elon. We get very little from YouTube, but it's Twitter's a pain in the ass. I only do it for business reasons, and it's just, I'm glad that you guys found me there, but if you could do so, come over to this URL right down here and join us properly if you can. So I would be much appreciated. I'm back. Didn't know you left. Fatu lost. They better get it. Oh, jeez. I think he's going to, he'll get that title back, but I also think they're testing him to see how high up on the card that they can put him. All right, so that's it. I didn't have a music topic because nothing compelled me. I didn't want to force a music topic. These music topics come to me and I have to talk about them. I didn't have one. Covered my comic book stuff. Gave you recommended reading. Did a review of a movie I didn't see. I let Brad do that.
My article kind of ended up being a bit of a topic.
Yeah, Brad's troublemaking tendencies became a big story. But
I'm the Snyderverse whisperer, some might call me.
Yeah, like I said, I'm just at the point where I can give it to me in whatever form, I'll take it, and then I'll go from there. But like I said, until I get movement on something like that, it's like climbing Mount Everest with a truck on my back. It's like I can't talk Superman movie without people bringing up their ghost stories. I'm like, I share the same scars with you, but at some point, I gotta turn my focus into what's in front of me, and then when the opportunity presents itself, then make sure that we're there to support it. But that's it. I mean, and as far as everybody else with all these, I can't wait to get past mid-June. I can absolutely not wait because I'm really tired of talking about Superman, to be honest with you. I'm tired of talking about the last 10 years of WB. Tired of talking about people who just want to go after Gunn for the sole purpose that he took the job. I just want to get to give me to July 12th, July 13th. I figure by July 15th, the conversation, the relevant conversation should be all that's left.
We'll know what we're talking about as it relates to this movie and the larger franchise by that point.
Yeah.
We'll have a baseline for what it's all going to be.
Let's see, TKO is paying those MMA fighters once they get into a certain level, they move on from them. That's why they're doing. That's what they're doing with wrestlers. Yep. That last bit of cuts they had, those wrestlers are average $2 million a year, and some of them are up there in age too. Beneficial topic of AI. Yeah, AI is a tricky one, man. Let's see.
I'm kind of wondering for like 10 years from now, is it going to be like kind of the in the same like AI? Is it going to be like thought of in the same way as like cloning in terms of like or like AIDS or things like that? These kind of like scientifically rooted topics that everybody kind of like attributed kind of like the impending apocalypse too, and then we get we kind of get to a point where it's sort of passe, or it's sort of just kind of just out there. It's just like a fact that it's just a part of life that we just have figured out how to live alongside.
Yeah, and I don't think it's gonna be that big a deal because back in those days we didn't have anything. Now we have social media. We can actually run a conversation into the ground. People get tired of it, and then they move on to something else. So that's the way I think of it. Here, let's talk We're gonna talk Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles for about 30 seconds. Here you go. IDW 25 years, celebrating 25 years. This is Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I think this is Alpha. This is the comic that came out right before the new series came out, which I do have on the shelf. I like the artwork in there. It's a throwback to what Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was. Not necessarily the exact same tone, but very similar to what these guys were, what Eastman and Laird doing. This is done by Aaron, Burnham, and Patterson. So this is supervised by the originators, but it's not done like the Last Ronin. Over there is Eastman and Laird. So yeah, actually, my sales on Turtles are decent. They're not like over the moon, but they're decent. Most of them are from older collectors. They pick them up. So there you go, Joga. I did never say I don't do anything for you. Top 10 albums in 1995. All right. Melancholy and Infinite Sadness is number one. Was going to be number one for me. Razorblade Suitcase. No, not Razorblade Suitcase. 16 Stone. I think we've covered it. That you have 19. Wow, there's so many. Oasis, Be Here Now. Foo Fighters. Wow, there's so many out there. I think Garbage 2.0 wasn't out there yet. Top albums in 1995. I have to pull them up. I won't pull them up in the orders.
Aaron also says, remember you going to show your Blade Runner comics, William?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Thanks for that, because I'm going to bring some of those over there. Hold on. Let's see. Wow, there's a lot. Better Than Ezra. That was their title album. That was good. So yeah, I could spend on that one. All right, let me go. I'd bring the phone over there, but it's not lit the way I want to have it lit. So I'll bring over some Blade Runner stuff. We've covered this before, but I've had a ton more stuff since then. Be right back.
By the way, yes, Aaron, I did see this. I'm going to give that trailer a look that you tagged me in, so thank you for letting me know about that. Look at that. What else you guys got? No, 95 Dallas Cowboys were a hit, yeah. Well, they were such a hit that it was Homer Simpson's dream to one day own the Dallas Cowboys. It's everybody's dream, really, isn't it? Own the Dallas Cowboys. Come on. And the Denver Broncos, I mean, do they compare? Can't compare. Like Mars would compare. It's like, you just don't get it. See, they use AI to replace people as something you should not celebrate. Well, again, I mean, people might be like painting like a more expansive picture of this than is necessarily going to be the case, or like the role AI is going to have in a lot of things in the future. So, just something to bear in mind. It might end up being more functioning better as a supplemental tool. That it probably will be better used as a supplemental tool. The European Cowboys. I don't see this guy. What else he has good? Waiting on William. I want to pull up that trailer Aaron tagged me in, but we'll probably get Williams if I do. Let's see what else you got. Bet again where you fit in. Always good advice. Yeah, I do too, Aaron. You know what else kind of is a blend of
nonsense? What nonsense were you bringing?
Oh, we're talking about like this awesome trailer for something called ZM that's a blending martial arts and horror. Which, you know what else is a blend of martial arts and horror? Raid. His.
Whatever, dude.
Nobody
cares. I'm sorry. I wish more people cared. I can't help. Nobody cares. Sorry.
First time we had Zack Snyder on, I'm asking him point blank, BVS,
Sure.
The Warehouse.
And being a nice
Raid
guy,
was
just
the
going to say
template.
yes to anything.
He's going to show me his copies of the raids, saying it's like, oh,
Yeah.
rad.
All right. Anyway, let's move on. Who cares? Who cares?
He's going to. We're going to have
All
the thing as i5 Center exclusive when that happens.
I doubt. I'm probably going to have a list of questions that we're going to ask, and that ain't going to be one of them. So, all right. So, Titan Comics has put out a lot of Blade Runner stuff. I have a Blade Runner section. Of course, I have a Blade Runner section. Probably not even justified. I probably don't. I sell absolute stuff, and I have sections for everything else. But Blade Runner's in this thing. It does well enough, but of course I have a Blade Runner section. All right, so it's split up into Blade Runner 2019, 2029, 2022, 2039. So some of them are, I have them in trade paperbacks already. I got these as I came out, and I have some separate issues there. There is Blade Runner 2029. So the original movie, and I have Blade Runner 2019, which takes place just after the original movie, and these other ones take place in between, Blade Runner and Blade Runner 2049. The artwork in these things is great. I mean, Titan always does a good job, but just to give you an idea what we're looking at here. The covers are great. I'm going to show you some of the covers, but I just want to give you an idea. If you are into Blade Runner at any level, these are an extension in every way. They show you the replicant process. They show you all kinds of there's a lot of lore that's kind of in these, and then there's each one of them. Each issue came out with like 4 covers, and they're like concept covers. So remember how the movie Blade Runner opened up? There's that scene there. That's LA 2039. All the retro stuff, all the equipment that was used. This is Blade Runner 2039. It has the entire series on there. Hell, but I would love this. There's ninjas in here. Believe it or not.
Oh, sorry, what? There are ninjas in Blade Runner? Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know where they're probably from? They're from Soldier. Because it's set in the Blade Runner universe.
Which is not. But
it's the case, guys. Look it up.
It's just some of the stuff. Like I said, the trade paperbacks are the bar, but let me show you what they did. So Sid Mead did a lot of the art direction for Blade Runner. Late great Sid Mead. He had what he called concept sketches. This is the concept sketch for a taxi. So Blade Runner 2029 used this as a cover. So each issue of these Blade Runner comics came with a Sid Mead concept cover, which I love. I love his work, and it's a pencil pen sketch, but it was cool. This is my favorite one, other than the one that had the replicant head and the head creation device. If you've been anywhere near Blade Runner, the original movie, you have to know what this is. This is the original concept drawing of the weight comp test. So when I say concept, this isn't the final thing that they ended up with. They these are ideas that Sid Mead would sketch down, and he would send them to them. But then once they started doing comics and everything else, they looked at his stuff and they just started putting them on covers. So that's what. Hold on, I think I have one more cool one if I haven't sold it, and it's the one with the head. The replicants, the way they originally intend for the replicant, they're made in pieces, and they're put together and they're assembled. But there's one that had it looked like a microwave or something like that, but it had a head in it because that's where the replicants, they put the brain and everything in there, and then they put it in an oven to where all the skin and everything goes around it. It was weird, and they ended up not going with that concept. But let me show you if I still have it. All right, I don't have it, but I can easily pull this up because they're all online. All right, so and like I said, he sent in all. You can actually buy Sid Mead's books. So here we go. So that's the one I just showed you. That's the Voight comp. This one I had. This is the Deckard's apartment that he goes into. Just trying to find. This is the inside of Deckard's apartment. That's a concept sketch. That's his bar. There's forgot what this one was. I know they didn't end up using it though. But there is one. Here it is, right here. This is the one. I don't have it anymore. I can get this back in. Except, yeah. There's the replicant head maker. I don't know if you guys can see that blowing up. Hold on, let me get out of here. There it is. I sold this. This is from 2029 number 2. This is a C cover, and as you can see, there was a scene in Blade Runner where the guy who makes the eye, the Asian guy, who's still alive by the way, he makes the eyes, and Roy Batty, which is Rutger Hauer's character, goes to visit this guy because he's trying to try to get a way in to the Tyrell Corporation. This was supposed to be in there. This was supposed to be the guy was supposed to be making other parts, and each person that Roy Batty visited was supposed to have they were part of the assembly process, and this was the head. So the guy's eyes would go into these heads, and then they would be attached to human bodies. So there you go. All right. Absolute Batman. What Brandon asked me which of the comic books, Absolute Batman and then after that it's Absolute Wonder Woman, and then after that it's Superman.
Yeah, I think the Trinity, it's kind of like a 3-way tie for my favorite. I think Superman, Batman, Wonder Woman. I do think I like Flash more than you have, though. I mean, I really like Flash, but I think it's
a little bit slower. It's the least of my favorites, but it's still a good book. It's the least of them.
Martian Manhunter is just a total mindfuck.
Yeah, it's number 4. It's behind the Trinity for me. To create a Brad, all you have to do is respond with "Have I told you about the raid?" How you doing?
The Eye of Me.
Howard. Okay, I think I just answered this because I'm going backwards.
Yeah.
Well, wait, come on. Absolute Batman, absolute Wonder Woman, absolute Superman, absolute Martian Manhunter, absolute Green Lantern, absolute Flash. Damn, we're almost a year. Oh, fuck.
Yeah, we're definitely gonna start seeing like where this is all kind of headed pretty soon. I'd imagine we're gonna start seeing things cross over.
All right.
We're gonna start seeing some characters we have seen make their absolute debuts. Yeah, it's gonna be. I think this is where the last year has been like where they've done like a really great intro for most of it. But now I think the rubber's gonna start to meet the road a lot.
Well, you've already started like they're on like the Trinity are on like issues 8 and 9.
Yeah.
10, so we're starting to move in. You have the Bane storyline, but it's not really a Bane storyline. He's there, but he's not. He's being used differently. He's being used in a much superior way than he was created. You have that. You have Wonder Woman. She's in her second storyline. So the Trinity, the first ones are in their second storylines now, and now we have Absolute Green Lantern coming around. We have like I said, Martian Manhunters. They're all the back enders now are coming to form. You really got to pay attention to Absolute Martian Manhunter, because if you don't, you'll miss something, and you'll miss something relevant. It's almost like you have to go on YouTube and get a cheat sheet just to make sure.
Yeah, it is definitely the most complex of all.
That's a neat idea to use scratch content. Yeah, and it's because Sid Mead. That's the way Sid Mead would do it. This is literally his. He would pencil these out, and he would ink them, and then he would send them in. And most of the ones that I'm showing you are ones that got rejected, actually. But they didn't get rejected, but they evolved from this point on. This would be the concept sketch, and the finished product, they would change it a little bit, and then you would get they went from concept to fruition. So, what do I think is more likely, Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles live action movie, or crossover with? I'd say it's 50-50 of neither one of them, but I don't know. The thing about it is I don't know what the demand is. I know there's a high demand. There's a loyal following for Power Rangers and Ninja Turtles. There's obviously a loyal fan base for DC and Marvel, but is there a demand for? There's no, in order to spend that kind of money on something like that. And like I said, everybody likes to shove this down people's throats, but there's no need for it right now. The last time it was done, the crossover done, it was out of desperation. Yeah, I know they got a Deadpool and Batman thing coming, but to be honest with you, I'm not a big fan of that either. You're in the height of your storytelling. You're telling the best DC stories that they've been telling since the last 15, 20 years. DC's in the best spot it's been in since for almost 2 decades. You don't need a Hail Mary in the middle of the end zone. And Marvel, I mean, I don't see how Marvel benefits from it. I mean, you'll sell a couple of books, great, but I'm glad that they're doing it all in one book. And I hope this is a one shot, but I would have to say that there's more demand for I don't know. I really don't know. I would say neither, but if I had, I'd have to say give you a slight edge to Marvel and DC, because we're already making Marvel and DC movies. Now the merits, if you were to ask me the merits of these projects, I'd say no, fuck both of them. But that's just me. I'm not a big, like I said, I don't want to run it into a ground. I am not a big Marvel versus DC. I appreciate them for what they are. I've grown up my entire life with these heroes. I've grown up with storytelling apparatuses being distinctly different from one to the other. It's like, to me, mixing Marvel and DC is like mixing peanut butter and glue. I don't need it personally, but hey.
Well, one thing I did want to share before we wrap up for the evening, something I came across on Twitter that is, you might call this, if this were on the Daily Show, we'd say this is your moment of zen for the evening. So this is kind of a wow video. Let me pull this up.
Is this going to get us taken down?
Well, I don't think so, but
I need a little bit more than that.
Well, it's like a 5-second thing. This is some kind of like strike. This might be like I don't know what this is exactly.
Is this a slapping contest?
Well, I guess it's because this guy says this dude got severe CTE in 0.02 seconds. But watch this guy. This guy takes a hit.
Oh, his head hits that doesn't help. His head hits the damn table.
That's gotta be the hardest slap I've ever seen in my life.
Oh no, I've seen that contest. They knock each other off the fucking screen.
But he would like slapped him and then his head hits the table. Like, man,
that's where I think knocked him down. I don't think the slap did. I think that his head slamming like that. Thank you. No problem at all. Listen, you're never gonna be able to have to twist my arm to show you anything Blade Runner. Trust me. I would love a Marvel and DC crossover or Superman and Spider-Man crossover. Pass. Not saying that it's not going to happen, but I like I said, I will find something else to do with my time and then watch that. James Gunn's got to get. Let's see. This is what I mean. Let's get DC going first. Let's stop thinking about some other kinds. Let's get DC where something like that would even be worth something to do. Because if you get DC rolling, and if you want to do something silly like that, all right, fine. You're not going to lose me. I'm just not going to be there for it. But yeah, because it's a gimmick. I listen. I understand you have to do things to attract sales and audiences, but there's a certain way that you got to do them in order for them to work. Otherwise, it's a shot of heroin that's going to wear off. If you're going to do things to attract people to a IP or a comic book, it should be well thought out, and it shouldn't be a gimmick. To me, Marvel vs. DC is just a cheap gimmick. That's all it's ever been to me. And that's not just an opinion of it, in my opinion. I'm just being through it. I think it's a cheap gimmick, and it harkens back to the decade of cheap gimmicks. The 90s were literally the era of the decade of cheap gimmicks. One gimmick after another. Let's put chromium covers on everything. Let's do some hotshot storyline where we pull a character out of our ass that we could have used 90 of that person's road gallery doing. You know why? Because we need a gimmick. We need to get on the news. And to me, all those things were gimmicks. You know, none of this stuff creates long-term readers, in my opinion. So, you know, like what I just covered, like Age of Apocalypse, that created long-term readers. That's something we're talking about 30 years from the point where it was released. Marvel vs. DC, it sounds like a great video game, but reading it, looking at it, I'd rather, I'd rather be somewhere else doing something else with someone else than revisit that. That's just me. All right, guys. Well, there we go. It has been a good week. It has been a solid week. It's been a solid shows, even though my schedule and yesterday was disastrous for me. I was supposed to have Ernie on, and then I ended up being like super late. But a lot of stuff is going on right now. So Chuck in there saying, "Get in where I can fit in." That's literally what I'm doing. That is literally what I'm doing. This next month for the next 30 days. In fact, this time next month, we'll be done with Comic-Con, and now we'll be rolling right into the Star Trek convention. So this next month and 5 days or so is going to be hectic. I would try to keep to a solid schedule as much as possible. But like I said, now you'll get plenty of coverage once we get down to Comic-Con because I got a game plan now that I know two back-to-back of this format. I know what I want to do, how I want to do it, how I want to present it. I know where I can go do shows now to be, have privacy and not have to deal with hassle. I know places that have good internet so that I don't have to use my hotspot all the time. I know exactly how I want to do this. The Hall H situation, I already got a plan for that. Even though it's going to be without Marvel anchoring Hall H, it's not going to be as psychotic as it was last year. Last year we had everybody in there. We had Marvel, we had Robert Downey, we had all that stuff, and I still think it's going to be a circus getting in. I just don't think it's going to be the circus I showed you last year. I'm staying at a place that has really good beds, so we don't have to worry about that fucking nonsense again. And I am not going to do 2 7-shot frappuccinos. See, you got to learn these things so that the next time around you're like, okay, let's have a little bit more fun than we did last year. Last year was fun. I wouldn't trade it for the world, but this year I got a plan. looking forward to it. So, all right. Yeah, so that fourth the stalker is not making a connection with pants hanging on a door. Like that's something special. That was ridiculous. All right, guys, we will be back on the air. I might do a Patreon stream tomorrow, just a free for all, just for about an hour or so. But we're definitely going to be doing our weekend wrap up show tomorrow. So a lot of this is going to be open topic. I really think this week we covered everything. Everything that came out, we were right there. That's what kind of like I don't think it diminishes the Saturday overnight show. But at one point, we were doing the Saturday overnight show where I was just doing basic streams, and we would save everything else for this show. But as the news is coming out, we're being more we're better equipped to deal with it. So by the time we get to the weekend show, it's pretty much I'm picking specific things I want to talk about, and then we don't have to do a 4-hour show, and then we don't do open panels anymore. Like I said, I guys don't see it happening because open panels add an hour and a half onto the show, and a lot of anxiety and aggravation to my head. So there you go. All right, be safe. Have a good rest of your Saturday. We will see you tomorrow afternoon and tomorrow evening. Don't party too hard. Get some sleep. Get out of the heat.
All right. See you guys.